话，你要另外拿一支香，只有一支。
清大的身体，为此发挥，济一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死离苦得乐。殊真无生 Will the Sangha with great virtue out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma well to teach us how to leave suffering and attempt bliss and understand death, and quickly realize numbers.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato Sama Sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Nammo Sadanto Suchedoye Olahuri Sammyao Sanputoshe.
Namo Tadato Suchedoye Arahati Samyao Sambuddhoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人，各位师兄大家，阿弥陀佛。Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture tonight. My name is Heng. We are about to launch into another round of the Flower Garland Sutra, Chapter 20, the praises in the palace of the Suyama heaven. And we are experiencing abundant technical issues, and all is running normal in Australia. That's good to know. Here in Berkeley, California, it is Saturday the 14th of January, and our projector is just not doing what it should be doing to give you the maximum experience of being able to read the sutra. So we think maybe our faithful projector has come to the end of its this bulb's natural lifespan. We may just have to replace a bulb. So hopefully this week we'll be able to put our technological heads together and brighten up the screen. We're doing it this way because we're saving trees. Now, in the past, we would hand each of you a sutra book, and you'd have a copy in your hands. That's the way we did it for years and years. But at one point, we said, hey, we got a bright projector, let's put it on the screen and save the trees. But when that projector goes dim, that's an issue. So just to let you know that we're working on we want more light, so less ignorance, less darkness. So, 好的, okay. Gratitude to the multitude of individuals who are helping this lecture get on board today by translating into Mandarin. Friends in Australia are lending a hand. Translating into Vietnamese. Friends here in the Bay Area are lending a hand. And getting all of the technological ducks in line, including Zoom and YouTube. Quite marvelous how that all works, and appreciate friends stepping in and making that happen. So let's take the next step into our protocol here. Can you all see those? Yeah, good? Okay. We want to invoke the spiritual presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and I was talking this afternoon with a fellow former monk from Gold Mountain Monastery days, and we were reminiscing about how when Master Hua lectured on sutras, the energy in the room was so powerful. It just made everybody kind of jiggle. It just made you feel electrified. And when he said, 你们大家要诚心一点，我们就请常住三宝莅临道场，祝福各位。You go, oh. He would say, all right, everybody, we want you to be really sincere because we're going to invite the eternally dwelling three jewels of the 10 directions to come and bless you. And you felt it. You felt it. So anyway, that's what we're doing. Without Shifu's fa li here, we have to be even more sincere. Okay? So, but I think, not more than I think, I know that the Avatamsaka assembly that we're naming here are just hoping that living beings will invite them. It's that Not that they go anywhere, it's just we forget to invite them. So let's be sincere. Here we go. And we want to acknowledge where we are. The Chochenyo Ohlone people practiced spiritual connections to the earth and to creation here in their ancestral land for tens of thousands of years. Today we acknowledge them as traditional custodians of the lands where we live, we learn, work, and where all activities take place. We recognize all First Nations peoples as the original storytellers of these lands. We offer our respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations peoples whose sovereignty was never ceded. Okay, there we go. All right. We are closing in on Lunar New Year's 2023, which is the way you begin the new year. This year, it comes early. And we're passing out of the year of the tiger into the year of the rabbit, according to Chinese astrology, to Asian astrology. And this transition is really significant in the Asian cultural world. And as I say every year, I feel kind of funny because I'm here kind of leading the cheering, and yet it is the case that this is not my holiday. I have to manufacture my enthusiasm because I don't feel it in my bones. And that's a strange reality, because it's funny. We did a survey at one point and said to folks, let's see here, I'm sharing this information with someone. Okay. We did a survey and we asked folks who grew up in the Midwest and California and Massachusetts and said, would you say that even without looking at the calendar, you know when Christmas has arrived? And the answer was absolutely yes. Just because there's a change. There's something about the Christmas season and then the break and then New Year's, solar New Year's, that is just in the bones after you've been through X number of years with Christmas trees and with Christmas carols and with the advertising blitz that begins after Halloween. It used to begin after Thanksgiving, now it begins after Halloween. So with your eyes closed, you know it's Christmas. And yet, I spent a year, 1990, in Taiwan over Guonian, over Lunar New Year's. And I have to say, Christmas and New Year's in the West can't compare. There's 10 entire days that you're on the holiday, and then there's the week of preparation. And the local, I was in Liugui down in southern Taiwan, southern Kaohsiung County, and a week before New Year's began, the ladies came, the lay women came to clean the monastery. And we had already cleaned it, not the way they cleaned it. They cleaned the tops of the doors. They cleaned the tops of the windowsills. They cleaned every cup and pot and chopstick. You know, it was like really clean. It was clean for the New Year. And I had some of the kind-hearted lay people explain to me what was going on and how much people look forward to the New Year. And one of the things that impressed me the most was it's not only external preparation, but it also, and this is not Buddhist, this is cultural, it goes beyond Buddhism, that you don't carry debts over into the new year. You want to settle all your debts. So you really start clean and fresh. And so I have a whole new appreciation of what it means to go through the new year. And then here at the monastery, we were blessed with the presence of Vietnamese elders who explained to me what, now it's not called Tet, it's Dut, right? Dut, is that good? Dut? Getting there? Dut? Okay. It took me a long time to learn how to say Dut. I got corrected a bunch. So the old Mr. Ha would explain to us, he said, we would have lunch on Saturdays, and everybody would say, ask Mr. Ha to tell some stories about Vietnam back in the old days. Okay. So he would say, he said, the thing that I remember most is the families, their marriage-eligible children would dress up in their best, and they would go to the public park in their city. And the boys would walk counterclockwise, and the girls would walk clockwise, and they would pass each other and false think. He said, Da Wang Xiang, passing each other, check each other out. Maybe she's the one, you know. Who could be an eligible bride? Who could be an eligible husband? And he said that was just part of New Year's. And of course, the matchmakers would be watching to see whose eyes sparked and who lit up. So we heard what it was like about Lunar New Year's in Vietnam, and it really sounded wonderful. And of course, all of the stories about the grandparents who go get stacks of red envelopes, depending on how many grandchildren they have, and they have to go to the bank to get fresh dollar bills. Can't be any old dollar bill. It's got to be a fresh dollar bill, or depending on the grandparents, the 10 or the 50 or the 100 that they put in the red envelopes for the grandkids. And right? And I see some heads nodding. Yeah, so anyway, that's Lunar New Year's is all about that. And special foods, special days, special clothing, special things you say. And how it works out is the way it really lives is not the way it reads. What do they say? First day, you go to the temple. And right? And then second day, 归娘家, right? You go, the wife gets to spend one day going back to her maternal home, because she marries, she doesn't go back home after she marries into her husband's family. So you get to go home and see your maternal family, and that's when everybody drinks, And then the third day says everybody fights because they were drunk yesterday and they're just all hungover. So third day of the 10 is reserved for fighting, he said. So lots of customs involved. And so you take that experience and you translate it into North America, and you wonder, how does American culture influence Lunar New Year's? And one of the stories that I'll never forget happened in San Jose. It must have been about 8 or 9 years ago. Some of you will remember. There is one Buddhist temple in San Jose, Vietnamese Buddhist temple, that was popular with 2 different Vietnamese gangs. And this temple occupied a space right in between their territories. So nobody could claim that it was in their turf and the other gang should stay away. And the problem in this particular year was a common problem, which is people come and offer incense. And they don't offer a stick of incense the way we do here. They offered 60 sticks of incense. They just ripped the plastic off they bought the incense pack, right? And it's this tightly vacuum packed 60 incense sticks. They rip the plastic off, light the entire thing, and bring it into the temple and set it in front of the Buddha. And it smokes. There was so much smoke that the rival gang couldn't see the rival gang that had arrived first until they came face to face with them in the smoke, and gunfire ensued. There was so much smoke offering the incense to the Buddha that the gangs couldn't see each other till they came face to face. There was a shootout at the monastery on New Year's because of the amount of incense smoke that hid one gang from the other. And I thought, that's an American Lunar New Year's. That's it. We have a shootout at the temple on New Year's. By golly. So, I can't promise that next Sunday there will be clouds of smoke or gangs or shootouts, so if you're looking for that, you'll be disappointed. But if you come to bow to the Buddha, to light incense, 1 stick per altar, you're welcome. We're not going to do food, various reasons, COVID for one. We're kind of short-handed at the moment because a lot of people have gone off for winter retreats, but if COVID goes away next year, we'll have a full-scale Guonian here at the temple. But this year, people are welcome to come bow and offer incense. All right? Fair enough? 可以吗？欢迎，好啊。And tonight, we're clearing out, making space for what will be coming in, so we hope people will help themselves to some of the fruit by the door. We've got fruit that needs attention because there's not enough mouths here to eat it, so we want to share the blessings. All right, so take some fruit on the way back. All right, let's take a look. We have 1 bodhisattva to go in our story, our continuing story of praises in a palace in the heavens. I guess with the advent of video games these days, I was born before video games became a thing. They didn't really exist. Castle Wolfenstein was like the first video game. I was born before Dragons and Dungeons and Dragons. The first-person shooter was called Castle Wolfenstein. Anybody old enough? Paul, were you a video game guy? Michael? No? That's good because it's bloody. But I remember somebody brought it into the monastery down at ITI back in like 1992 or something, and I thought, video games. That's practicing killing. That's virtually breaking my precepts, so I didn't want to do it. But since that time, the time of video games are not only violent bloodshed. Some of them are very, very creative and fantasy, based on fantasy. And many of the themes and many of the characters, particularly in games that arise in Japan or China, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, they borrow heroes and stories from Buddhism. Now, from Buddhism, or is it that these creatures like Tian Long Ba Bu, the dragons, the gods, the Eightfold Pantheon, Wei To Pusa with his Vajra pestle, the Jingang Li Shi, they are Dharma protectors that drew near the Buddha because they wanted wisdom, they wanted liberation from suffering too. And so it's not so much that Buddhism owned these characters, but when I'll be researching a figure in Buddhism that I'm going to explain or lecture on, and I looked them up and I discovered that the gaming industry has now got a hold of this character, this Vajra warrior, and he's now got a whole new rebirth on the computers and Game Boys of hundreds of thousands of young men and women around the world in video games. Who knew, right? So, when I say Zhi Lin Pusa, what's his name? We call him knowledge, forest of knowledge. When Bodhisattva forest of knowledge was flying up to the heaven in the Suyama heaven palace, people who play video games go, oh yeah, I know him. He's my avatar. It's like, oh, okay. So video games through the back door might be introducing you to characters that also appear in the lore of Buddhist sutras early on, that you've already met them. Isn't that interesting? So it's not only characters in Buddhism, but it's also principles. For example, I told my story about going to the Parliament of World's Religions in 1999 at Y2K down in Cape Town, South Africa. And after the Parliament, we went to the townships and we met a community of brand new migrants from the bush who had come to Cape Town to get rich and wound up living in cardboard shacks, but had this incredible culture of hospitality and welcome. And they invited us in and said, this is Ubuntu. People become people through other people. In other words, our relationships make us. In other words, if you're kicked out, if you're ostracized from your community, you're essentially dead because you have no connections. You don't exist except through your relationships, Ubuntu. So I thought, oh, that's such a great concept. That's really, heartwarming. There's a Dharma principle there. So I looked up Ubuntu, couldn't find anything to do with African culture. Ubuntu is the name of an operating system. It's a computer operating system, like Windows. And I went through page after page on Google and couldn't find Ubuntu's original meaning, right? It has been grabbed by the computer industry and totally owned and possessed by a computer operating system, which is like the commercialization of a beautiful principle. So sometimes we have to grab them back, take them back and redefine, according to what these words mean. All right, that's a digression. Let's get going. We ready? This is our last bodhisattva. Here we go. I'll give you a line, you give it back. 20智林菩萨成佛威力普观十方耳说颂言 Then Bodhisattva, forest of knowledge, received the Buddha's awe-inspiring strength, contemplated everywhere in all directions, and chanted the following verses in praise. Okay, excuse me while I sneeze. So, this is the last of 10 bodhisattvas who's come to the Suyama heaven, and it's his turn. And as we've said every week, these bodhisattvas sing from their heart. You don't know what they're going to say. Like last week, we heard the verse that actually came out from the Avatamsaka Sutra to be typical, to be the hallmark of the entire sutra last week. It's this guy right here. 若人欲了知三世一切佛，因观法界性一切为神道, right? Should you want to know all Buddhas of the three periods of time, contemplate the nature of the Dharma realm, how everything is made from mind alone. So that's a famous verse, and it has life all by itself. I gave two examples. People think Shakespeare when they hear to be or not to be, that is the question, right? Hamlet looking at a skull like that. And or they think, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo, says Juliet from her balcony, right? And you think Shakespeare, because those lines are so evocative. Well, that verse is it for the Avatamsaka Sutra. But we have one more bodhisattva to go, and he's going to be talking about, I don't know what. Let's find out. Ready? Here we go. 所取不可取，所取不可取，所见不可见，所见不可见，所闻不可闻，所闻不可闻，一心不思议，一心不思议。What you grasp may not be grasped. What you see may not be seen. What you hear may not be heard. Single-minded focus is inconceivable. Is inconceivable. Okay, what? Okay, take a look. Okay, we don't know. This is his verse. This is how he's praising. He's not saying, Buddha, you're great. You know, Buddha's good, praise the Buddha. Sometimes they say that, but this is so much more subtle than just saying, we like the Buddha. He's talking about the Dharma. He's talking about the mind. So, that which qu means, on one hand, it means just to pick up, but it also means to seek. It also means to get. It means to grasp. It means to hold on to want. All those things. Those things that one grasps, in fact, from the Buddha's point of view, can't be grasped. Okay? Notice the same pattern happens 3 times. So, and then the verb, and then buka. So there's a pattern here. The things that you might want to grab onto ultimately will elude your grasp. The things that you want to, notice this, that's an eye on legs. An eye from your head on legs to see. Your eye runs out to see things. That's a very cool little character anomaly here. The things you can see, in fact, from the Buddha's point of view, are not really being seen. Okay, can you accept that, or is that just too far out? What else? 所闻不可闻. 闻, the picture of an ear, that one is the ear, inside a door. You stick your ear inside the door to eavesdrop, to listen, right? So these characters all have, not all, some do. Some tell you what they're about by analyzing the character. So, a pattern. The things you want to grab onto, the things you pursue, you're never going to get them. The things you really want to see, in fact, you're never going to see them. The things you think you're hearing, from the Buddhist point of view, ultimately are not heard. 一心不思议. Look at the punchline. One mind, not thinkable, can't conceive of, What? How do you translate that? I translate that to mean when we get to that place of samadhi, where we have a single mind of concentration, the states that are revealed at that point, the things you can see and hear and grasp, you really can't imagine. You can't think about them. They're way beyond what the mind can conceive of. That's how I translate that. Now, I'm not sure I'm right. What you grasp, in fact, is not graspable. It's just this, we're in this world of duality. I want, right? I want it. Well, the Buddha would say, that I, when you look at it, it just falls apart. It's a falsely gathered I. It just keeps changing. The I is just a way of seeing this thing. How many microbes are there alive in my body right this minute? Trillions and trillions of little beings. You don't believe it? Don't eat for 2 days. Those little beings will be talking to you. I'm hungry. Who's hungry? Well, I am. Oh, who are you? My stomach. So it's like the self is made up of trillions of little beings, all with their lives, living beings, right? Somebody comes up and insults you. A minute ago, you were happy. Somebody comes up and insults you or your mother. Somebody says something awful about your mother. You can't say that about my mother. And this anger, right? Where did that come from? Just out of the blue, the self, right? The self is this amorphous thing, constantly changing. But we say, I. Who am I? Pull out your driver's license, pull out your passport, pull out your credit card. That's who I am. That's got my name right there and my number right on there. Hand it to the officer. I didn't know my tail light was out, officer. So the self, I, the Buddha says, constantly changing, illusory, concocted. It's a composite self. It's always changing. You look in the mirror, you don't recognize it this morning. So that's one. And then want. As soon as you say that, I want, the want, you analyze that, and it's like, when was the last time you got something that made you happy that lasted? Right? They talk about 8 sufferings, one of which is seeking and not getting. In fact, there should have been 9, seeking and getting. Buyer's remorse. You got it, now you don't want it. Oh, he looks so handsome, right? Then I found out that he really snores, and then I find out that he's a slob, and buyer's remorse. Oh, so it's just true. It's just, the problem is the desire. Desire can't be gratified, satisfied. It just keeps burning. It is insatiable. So the I want is the problem. What you grasp may not be grasped. You get it, and ultimately what have you done? You've just outflowed into what we think is the world outside. From the Buddha's point of view, it's made from the mind. It's a play, and we are the directors, we are the actors, we are the audience in the play of our karma, going down the road. And we just project it out there and pursue it, and leave our bodies and come back. We get a new body, try it again. Meet the same people, go through the same drama. That's the Buddha's description. So in the middle of this, he says, if we can learn to focus, learn to diligently improve our character, practice meditation, use wisdom, put to rest greed, anger, and delusion, what the mind can see then, once the self and desires are pacified, is truly inconceivable. The problem is, the Buddha couldn't describe it because we couldn't accept it. That's why immediately after his awakening, he didn't want to speak. Under the Bodhi tree, the Buddha walked around for 21 days. The Devas came down and said, please, please, World Outer One, please talk about it. What you see. He said, they won't get it. They won't get it. They can't imagine. In fact, they'll run the other way. Flight from freedom. Too much choice, too much freedom, we pull back. We kind of like to dance in our chains. How funny, right? Strange. So, single-minded focus is inconceivable. So what do? Go step by step, bit by bit. Stick with good friends who encourage us to reduce our bad habits, to pick up good habits. And step by step, we say, oh, haven't had a cigarette in a long time. Been, 9 months without a cigarette. So out at a party, go bowling, light up with friends, and that tobacco hits the back of your throat, and you go, yick, why did I ever like this? What? Thanks. I'm back on the wagon, right? So all habits are like that. They grab us, and at some point, if we've been cultivating the flavor of freedom from needing that thing, really needing nothing, is so inconceivable flavor that once we put those chains back on, it's like, oh, no thanks. I like that flavor of liberation, right? So, single-minded focus is inconceivable. We grasp, we see, we hear stuff all day long. But if we can, at the same time, pick up a habit, what would it be? Maybe bowing. Bowing is such a good beginning habit. Being generous, being kind to people, sharing with people. The flavor of giving, right? Kids don't know this unless their parents show them. But the joy of giving is so much, I won't say it's better, but it really competes with the joy of getting. The joy of giving and the fact that giving makes you happy, and the more you give, the happier you get. Whereas the joy of getting, once you get it, it's over, and is that it? I open all my presents under the Christmas tree, and I got some nice stuff. I think I'll go see what my buddy got. We'll compare bicycles, And that's the way kids are. But the parents had the joy of Christmas of watching their kids' faces light up as they opened what they wanted for a while, So the joy of giving, pick up a good practice like that and keep it going. And bit by bit, the flavor of cultivation, there is a moment when the light of our nature overcomes that darkness. And it's unmistakable. And at that point, cultivation, you say, I think I'll take the precepts. I think I might, do a retreat. I think I'll go and meditate with our friends down at Redwood Vihara, Buddha Root Farm, Sudana Center, city of 10,000 Buddhas. I'm going to join Jin Forscher's Forsan. Oh, that's so good, Reciting the Buddha's name, playing the ground bell, making all that good noise. Ching, ching, ching. Oh, I'm going to do that. So, okay, that's what Forest of Knowledge Bodhisattva wants to praise. Interesting, huh? He's praising liberation. What happens when we ishin, when we can get single-minded. Okay, next one. Here we go. Yo liang ji wu liang, yo liang ji wu liang, er ji bu ke qu, ro yo ren yu qu, bi jing wu so de. Both what you can measure and the immeasurable, both what you can measure and the immeasurable may not be grasped, may not be grasped. Someone who intends to grasp them, someone who intends to grasp them will ultimately get nothing. Ultimately get nothing. Okay, it's kind of sober. Take a look here. He says, Yo liang, things that have measure, in other words, things that the mind can know. Ji wu liang, things that are immeasurable, beyond measuring, like nirvana, for example. Er ju bu ke qu, both of these together, bu ke qu, right here, bu ke qu, cannot be grasped. So he's saying the mind that says, oh, I want to get enlightened, I want to get nirvana, that's a higher level of wanting. It's still I want. The fundamental problem is not with the thing you're going for, it's the wanting. Because you're not going to get that. What you do is you let go of the wanting and you deconstruct the self, you analyze the self, and you discover by letting go of the me in the middle, you're connected to everything already. You can't fill a glass that's already full. Okay. 若有人欲取, as soon as somebody decides that they're going to seek something, 毕竟无所得, ultimately, there's nothing that you get. Okay, someone who intends to grasp those things ultimately gets nothing. You know where we meet this? We meet this in the Heart Sutra. And the Heart Sutra is probably the most recited sutra of all. It's short, number one, but also it has that flavor. 无知亦无得, 亦无所得故, puti sato, 亦般若波罗蜜多故, shin无我爱, right? So, nothing to know and nothing to get. That line, people go, what's the point? Why am I wasting my time with Buddhism if there's nothing to get? I think at least I'll go get baptized, right? At least then I know I got a community. You know, I got a promise of being born in heaven. Yeah, that's true until the gods die. Gods are also mortal. And so when the Heart Sutra, Prajnaparamita says, there's nothing to know and nothing to get because the thing that wants to know itself is made up of things that are what? Moving on, impermanent, unsatisfying. When you get them, they fall apart, and not self. That's why Ujjari Buddha. And for the Buddha to look at this, it's like, it's so cold. There's nothing, you know. No wonder the Buddhists are like so negative, pessimistic, suffering all the time, you know. No, it's not that. It's that the Buddha is looking right at the heart of reality, and he sees it more deeply than any other teaching that I've found. He says, don't even seek to be reborn in the heavens because it's not ultimate. The thing is, once we can really let go of that seeking, what happens instantly is great compassion. When the self is gone, you realize we're connected to everything. And that's liberation. The biggest family is all living beings. And a bodhisattva, someone who has reached Wujir Wuda, nothing to know and nothing to get, through flipping over the self that wants things, discovers there's nothing to want because it's all there to begin with. And it was the self in the middle that was the problem all along. Right? Is that, for me to say it, that sounds like, oh yeah, prove it, monk. Well, I can't because I'm still on the path like everyone else. But that promise is so, I don't know, there's so much optimism and hope and joy. And then you look at people who have, they say, 过来人, people who have gone over and come back, and they're a happy bunch. People who seem very full, very alive in every breath. People who are not depressed, who are not anxious, who are not afflicted. So there's something to the Dharma, seeing deeply into the heart of where, when you use the light of wisdom, it all falls apart. There's nothing there. All component things fall apart. And as soon as they do, if you keep your cultivation, that, as the saying goes, true emptiness doesn't obstruct wonderful existence. Wonderful existence doesn't obstruct true emptiness. They live together. So one person who did that was Empty Cloud, Master Shuyan, whose picture you see on your screen right there. And what did he say? He said, 唐之手打翠杯，家破人亡，玉难开. He said, I burned my hand, busted my cup, broken for good my mind. Like my family, it's lost. People are gone. Words are hard to find. And you go, ugh, that's cold. There's nothing. He's looking in the void. Like, people are lost. My family is gone. What can you say? It's just like he's looking right at wu zhi yi wu de, nothing to know, nothing to get. Bu ke qu, you can't grasp it. But at that moment, he says, 春到花香处处修，山河大地是如来. He says, spring is here. The flowers breathe their fragrance to the sun. Mountains, rivers, the earth itself are all the body of the Buddha, are all the thus come one. Right? So right at that moment, when it's completely empty, spring is back without effort. It's just the way it is. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, spring. Right? It's all back. It's a gift without effort. So emptiness and existence interpenetrate. What prevents us from seeing it is the I want. I want to grasp. I want to see it. I want to hear it. So if we can be still, it's all there. I found an expression of this that I wanted to share with everybody, which is right here. Nope, not this one. We'll put that one away. That's my Song of Enlightenment lectures. We'll put you away. This is the one I want. From number 6, verse number 6 of the Song of Enlightenment. There it is. There we go. In this verse, this is Zheng Dao Ge, 那个玄觉法师, the master from Yongjia, explains this. He says, 方四大莫把着，寂灭心中随因着，诸行无常一切空，即是如来大圆觉。Elements for just set aside, attached to them no more. Stillness and cessation, you eat just like before. Everything's impermanent, empty, over and done. This is the great awakening of the thus come one. that's one version. The other version sounds like a Sunday church hymn. And for this, I bounce back and forth depending on the content of the verse. But you tell me which one suits it better, okay? Elements for just set aside, attached to them no more. In stillness and cessation, you eat just like before. Everything's impermanent, empty, over and done. This is the great awakening of the thus come one. Definitely number one, right? This is darker and more. This verse, this theme suits descriptions of nature and happy, but when he's emptying it out, when he says everything's impermanent, empty, over and done, you want something darker. Everything's impermanent, empty, over and done. Okay, working on it. We'll get there. 63 verses, no hurry. So, what does he say? One of the themes of this is, suppose you're a Buddhist, and you go, yeah, what you can see, you can't really grasp. What you can see, you're not really seeing. What you hear, you're not really hearing. What you can grasp, you're never going to grasp it. Do you walk around thinking that all the time? If so, somebody says, you go to Starbucks, they say, may I take your order, please? Yes, but it can't be grasped. Well, would you like me to pour it in your thermos, sir? I can do it without hands if you want it. So you can't, it's just totally impractical. Except, here is Master Yongjia, who is a 过来人. He is one who knows. And what does he say? He says, in stillness and cessation, when you realize that state, you still have to eat. You still have to dress. You still have to know how to park your car between the paint lines. Everything is impermanent, empty, over and done. It's true, and that's what the Buddha woke up to. You don't attach to the four elements. However, the bodhisattva who awakens to that is more himself, more herself than ever before. Not phony, not putting on a special style. So interesting, huh? So, integrating everyday physical behavior with the awakened state. I think that's so cool. So what did he himself, the master from Yongjia, he walks into the six patriarchs, guest room, hits his six-ring staff, and says nothing. He doesn't greet the sixth patriarch. He doesn't use, typical courtesy. And the sixth patriarch says, well, what makes you so arrogant? And he says, birth and death is the important matter. Impermanence comes quickly. So it sets off their dialogue, famous dialogue. And as soon as the sixth patriarch says to him, Rushi, you really have got it. What does Master Shrendra say? Okay, bye, I'm going back. He's going a 1,000-mile journey back home. He's got his certification, he's going back. Sixth patriarch says, stay a night. He says, we got a guest room, you can stay one night, all right? So, all right. So then he bows with full courtesy. He actually knew the Li Mao, but he was testing the sixth patriarch the same way the sixth patriarch was testing him. So, okay. What is this? Here is a hallmark Buddhist teaching that works for our verse tonight. There is something called the three hallmarks of the Dharma that the Buddha taught in the Pali tradition and in the Sanskrit tradition. It says, everything in the world, everything, reality itself is characterized by three, sometimes four hallmarks. All conditioned things are unsatisfying, ku, kong, and empty, transient, 无常, and not self, 无我. There's nothing in there that is inherently, uniquely teacup. No such thing. So these san fa yin, this is such a useful, what do you call it, like a ruler that you can bring out when you're in your car waiting for somebody to finish at the bank, you're standing in line in the grocery store, you're on the pillow before you're going to sleep, situation arises, you can use these san fa yin, and just the way Master Empty Cloud, just the way great Master Yong Jia, you can use these rulers to measure reality and see how you're doing. What are they? Everything in the world. Conditioned things just means everything that your senses see with your eyes, hear with your ears, grasp with your hands. You say, if I get it, do I have it forever? And am I satisfied this is the very last one I'll ever need? Because I'm back from having been away during COVID, I pulled open some deep drawers in my cupboard, right? Where I stashed stuff since we got here in 1995, right? We've been here for almost 40, how many years? 25, no, many, many years we've been here at the Berkeley Monastery. And I pulled out the drawers where I've been stashing stuff. You know how many personal digital assistants I've got in there? I've got 2 Blackberries. I've got 2 Palm Pilots, top-of-the-line Palm Pilot with a special metal case. Thing weighs a ton, and it had that little antenna going up. And I've got 4 old iPhones that are tiny. Remember how small iPhones used to be? And they're all just stacked up in there. And each one of them, my whole digital life was in each of them, and now they're just sitting in a stack in the bottom of my drawer, you know. And how many things that we get, use your yardstick, how many things are the last one? The one that finally hits the spot. Hard to find, right? And if that's your spouse, congratulations. This is the last husband you'll ever need, the last wife you'll ever need. Congratulations. We have our parents for a lifetime, right? So make our relationships last. That's a skill. That is real Gong Fu. If we can make our relationships the opposite of unsatisfying, transient, and not self. Work on it, right? Make every encounter with your significant family members a blessing, a chance for mutual appreciation, for mutual gratitude, right? For exchanging wisdom. Who knows? Maybe that person sitting beside you in the car is a bodhisattva who's come to cross you over. Maybe, huh? Maybe they're there to teach you about how reality is ku kong wu wo wu chang. Maybe. Don't assume that you know who that is. They may well have your number and they're just waiting for you to wake up. Be nice to them. So, okay, all conditioned things are empty, ultimately. Use that yardstick, they fall apart. They're made up of other stuff. So transient. Right now, these are very, very fragrant. Wowee. These are 不是椰奶香，叫什么白？叫什么白？水仙。香水仙，哇，香得不得了。And, yeah, really fragrant. And it's like, okay, my nose just went dong, 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 grasped the smell. But it's like, okay, tomorrow, Next day, no, it'll be, right? What else? Everything is transient, moving on, doesn't stay. Because the component parts change. They're fragile, right? Not self. Find the ultimate, if you analyzed each one of these, you would find hydrocarbons, chlorophyll, you'd find fiber, you'd find vegetable matter, right? And ultimately, it goes back, it recycles. The Buddha said, yeah, take a look. If your wisdom is keen, you will see that everything is that way. Pay attention to the states of your physical body. Those states will not reward you. And to realize the way, you must not take them as real and seek their comfort above all else. States of the physical body, right? Even after you realize nirvana, you still carry on with life's normal processes as you did before you woke up, in no way different. Maybe as they're probably a little less greed, okay? Enlightened people still eat and drink normally, so don't pretend to a special style. No matter where you look around the world, you won't be able to find anything that is lasting or substantial or real. All is vanity. All is transient. The Buddha's realization was just this. He saw through the illusion of conditioned things and realized their transient nature. This realization extended to his own body and senses. There is, in fact, nothing to hold on to. 所取不可取, right? What we grasp is ungraspable. How is this helpful? Well, with this wisdom, you can endure all states patiently because you see their ultimate nature. They don't disturb your peace of mind, no matter how they come, either sweet or bitter. Sometimes first sweet, then bitter. Other times first bitter, then sweet. Right? So, thank you, Yongjia Dashi, for that insight. Now, let's take that wisdom and apply it back to our verse. What does he say? 所取不可取，所见不可见，所闻不可闻，一心不思议，有量即无量，二句不可取。若有人欲取，毕竟无所得。What you grasp may not be grasped. What you see may not be seen. What you hear may not be heard. But single-minded focus is inconceivable. Samadhi. Both what you can measure and the immeasurable may not be grasped. Someone who intends to grasp them will ultimately get nothing. All right, thank you for that. More. 不应说而说，不应说而说，是谓自欺诳。自欺诳，以即使不成就，即使不成就。不令众欢喜，不令众欢喜。To speak of what is ineffable amounts to self-deception. What you have not accomplished will not make others happy. Will not make others happy. Okay, one more. So we have, this is a hard one, okay? He says, if you're gonna tell me that you're gonna describe the infinite, nope, you're cheating yourself. If you haven't realized it, don't fool others into thinking that you have. Okay, one more. 有于赞如来，有于赞如来，无边妙色身，无边妙色身，尽于无数界。无能尽成数，无能尽成数。This wish to praise the Tathagata's infinite and marvelous body. Should one try over eons beyond numbering, Try over eons beyond numbering, there would still be more to say. Be more to say. Okay, look at what he's done. He's come back to praising the Buddha. He's the last one. He's number 10 out of 10. And I think it's appropriate. I think he's aware that he's the last one. And these bodhisattvas have been far out. They've gone, here he is talking about reality. He's taking us into emptiness, into the ultimate ungraspable nature of reality. It's cold there. It's scary. There's no bujang renqing, there's no happy feeling there. But he doesn't stop there. He brings us back to say, I could, says Bodhisattva Zhi Forest of Knowledge, I could praise the Buddha's incredible Dharma body, reward body, transformed bodies, but you know what? That's ultimately futile, because you're never going to, they're endless. Because the Buddha's body is everything, how are you going to say it all? You're going to use your language, which is this big, to describe something that's infinite? Not going to do it. So he says, save me. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be phony and tell you that I'm going to praise the Buddha's body happily. So he's owning it, but he's doing it in a very interesting way that is he's excusing why he's talking about prajna, wisdom, and how empty and infinite it is. Right? Does that make sense? He's the last one, and he's decided, I'm not going to praise the Buddha. And he doesn't want to be criticized by the other bodhisattvas for not wrapping everything up neatly. But he's explaining that the attempt to praise the Buddha is, you could do it, but it's just a drop in the ocean. So, all right. Now, I wanted to mention something else that's going on here. Let's see here. There we go. Take you out to our website, Berkeley Monastery. There's another lecture happening. It's tomorrow night. It's on Sunday nights here in California. It's Monday at 12:30 in Queensland, and that's 10:30 in the morning in China. There's another lecture happening, and it's the Shihui Shangping, 10 transferences. It's Sunday night at City of 10,000 Buddhas. That's the lecture slot that I used to show up all the time, CDDB, to fulfill. And for various reasons, we stopped. But we wound up halfway through the 6th transference. So it's important to finish what we start when you're lecturing on a text. So we're going to pick it up again. And it's a really different chapter than what you're hearing tonight, these praises, what we've been studying here. The 10 transferences is full of lists of vows. So the Bodhisattva says, I want to give living beings something that they can't get for themselves. So I give this to living beings. And there's 1,000 of those wishes, one after the other, after the other. And you hear them and your heart just expanded. That's so generous. That's so big-hearted of the Bodhisattva, the way he's sending out his merit. Sometimes you have to spin a little bit. One of those times is tomorrow night. Because what is the Bodhisattva giving away? He's giving away palace women. And in the 21st century here in Berkeley, California, that's an issue. It's like, wait a minute. The Bodhisattva is giving away palace women? He's giving away concubines? It's like, is that called trafficking? like, oops, you know. So you have to sometimes bridge over 25 centuries of culture, right? And that's good, that's important. Otherwise, people say, oh, based on our current understanding in this part of California and Australia in the 21st century, bodhisattvas don't give women away. Women are not possessions. You know, what? That's illegal, not to say immoral and unwise. So you say, okay, understand how 25 centuries ago, when this was first explained, culture was different. Gender balance was different. Relationships between men and women, between king and citizen, king and subject, right? The king had complete power. In China, the Tianzi, the emperor, he had your life in his hands, right? So, the Holy Roman Emperor in the medieval times in Europe, same way, no different. Maybe now in the Middle East, certain countries, not much different. Women are considered inferior to men, possessions. Look at Iran at the moment, right? How tragic that is. And it's time for everyone to look past the surface, look past the container of the soul, of the spirit, of the nature, to see what's inside. That's what the Dharma is talking about. So, anyway, just to say, that's coming up tomorrow. And fascinating for the person who's explaining the sutra. That's a real challenge, and it's a good one. It's good to be able to say, yeah, this is a living document. It's open to interpretation in every new generation. And it's time for us to use contemporary wisdom to look at what can we learn from the sutra. So that's all coming up tomorrow. But that's only one chunk. Last Sunday, he was giving away his capital cities. The king was giving away his capital to those who came for it, who asked for it. And you go, wait. Sacramento? Like, huh? You know, Columbus, Ohio? Huh? So Washington, D.C. So it's like, okay, that's interesting. And after the act of giving, then the bodhisattva transfers the merit. So we're bringing this alive in a variety of ways. One is, along with talking about transference, I want to give everybody a chance to cultivate together in a community online, as we're doing this, because I'll be lecturing online, and then do our own transference. So, what are we going to cultivate together? We're going to cultivate, you could say, the complement to the prajna, emptiness, that we saw tonight, which is the Sutra of the highest blessings, Mangala Sutta. Looks like this. Not that. It looks like this. Qi Xiang Jing, in which a Devi, a female deva, a goddess, comes down to the Jade Grove and asks the Buddha to explain blessings, and directly. And the Buddha proceeds to give this Devi and us 38 things that are the highest blessings. Blessings that make our lives better. Thus I heard that the Blessed One was staying Vrindavanashavasti, residing at the Jadis Grove in Anathapindika's park. Then in the dark of the night, a radiant Deva illuminated all the Jadis Grove. She bowed down below for the Blessed One. Then standing to one side she said, Rusha Wowan, did she speak Chinese? Probably not. Devas are concerned for happiness and ever long for peace. The same is true for humankind. What then are the highest blessings? Every time we get to that line, we're going to do it twice. What then are the highest blessings? Okay, now the Buddha starts in, and the rest of the sutta is all the Buddha's description of where blessings come from. Okay, so I have to decide whether I want everybody to sing along. It won't be as hard to see as this. It'll be on your computer or your phone. So one option would be for all of us to go, these are the highest blessings, twice. These are the highest blessings. That's easy, right? Everybody can do that. Or we could sing it all together. The problem is the lines are of different lengths, and we might, they're kind of tricky to get the timing right. But let's see if here's one way to do it, and you come in with these are the highest blessings twice. Ready? Avoiding those of foolish ways, associating with the wise, honoring those who are worthy of honor. Here we go. Ready? These are the highest blessings. These are the highest blessings. That works. Living in places of suitable kinds with the fruits of past good deeds and guided by the rightful way. Here we go. These are the highest blessings. These are the highest blessings. Sounds nice. So we're going to do that every Sunday night, and then come up with creative ways to transfer. So we'll step right into the sutra, and it's not some bodhisattva long ago and far away. It's us today. And if we do it every week, we will be learning what the Buddha decided, what the Buddha said are real blessings, accomplished in learning, craftsman skills, with discipline, highly trained, speech true and pleasant to hear. These are the highest blessings. And if you want to know what the rest of them are, you have to show up for the lecture. Okay, Chi Shang Jing. In Pali, it's called the Mangala Sutta, and bhikshus recite it a lot as like a parita chanting. So something that we did when I was in Queensland, and we were explaining the earlier parts of this chapter 20, we did something called the names of the 7 Tathagatas. And people told me they enjoyed singing these. and I wanted to share them with everybody here too. And this is something that we can also transfer. There's this Dharma called the Qi Zun Gu Fo, Qi Ru Lai, and Qi Fo Ru Lai Ming Hao. And one is the Tathagata, also Buddha, the Tathagata many treasures, the Tathagata jewel victory, the Tathagata marvelously formed body or beautiful body, the Tathagata extensive body, the Tathagata beyond fear or fearless Buddha, the Tathagata ambrosia, Ganlu, and familiar old friend, the Buddha Amitabha. And each of these Buddhas, and these are Buddhas in the past, have qualities that are associated with them. And when we recite their names, we're kind of invoking those qualities, bringing them in, their vows, bringing them into the world. Do Bao Ru Lai, what about him? Many treasures, he purges stinginess. You leave behind 3 miserable rebirths. You get rid of poverty. If you're a shopkeeper, your shop will be successful. If you're a business person, your profits will accrue. You get rid of the karma of theft that creates poverty, and your company will succeed. That's Do Bao Ru Lai. Bao Sheng Ru Lai, the benefits come to animals. When I feed the birds, I recite these 7 names all the time. Animals get protection, get protecting spirits around the animals. You leave the miserable rebirths. If you walk through the marketplace and you see places where animals' bodies are being sold, you recite this. That karma that leads animals to having their bodies chopped up and sold as meat goes away. And mortuaries. Miao Shai Shen Ru Lai, Buddha with a marvelously formed body. This one is for ghosts, interestingly. Ghosts change from yin to yang. They leave the path of ghosts. People gain a beautiful appearance. Children in the womb become pretty if they were not destined to be pretty. They gain physical beauty life after life. So, Miao Ze Shen Ru Lai, right? How about that? Guangbo Shen Ru Lai, extensive body. Notice how many have to do with bodies, right? So, the benefits of reciting, hungry ghosts' throats expand and they get relief as never before. They can drink water. They gain rebirth in the heavens with a comfortable body. In life after life, they're born with a body big enough. Now, when do these 7 Buddhas' names come up? Mongshan ceremony. Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Sheng Ru Lai, right? Every night we do the Mongshan, feeding the ghosts. These 7 names are recited. Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, beyond all fears. This is for fish and birds. They lose their fear of you, the human. Their hearts lose fear, they leave the animal's path. So I recite this as I feed the animals. And you can recite this as you feed your pet. You love them, but they're in an animal's body. Whoever is in there, you recite for that. Ganlu Wang Ru Lai, the Buddha Ambrosia, fish. Understand when you speak the Dharma for them, when you recite the Heart Sutra of Compassion. You recite for your child before they go to class, and the kids remember the teacher's instructions. Such a deal. They get into Stanford, yes. You know. Or state. Yes, we love state. California has great schools. Don't think that Stanford's the only one. Or Cal. Right? California has wonderful schools. So, Namo Ganlu Wang Ru Lai, why not? Recite it more. And finally, the one we know, Namo Ami Tofo, Namo Ami To Ru Lai. People eradicate 80 million eons of life and death debts, and you get reborn in the land of utmost happiness, where you can play the ground bell with Chin For Sure as much as you want. Ami To Amitofo. So let's try it. What do you say? I'm going to make this a little smaller so I don't have to scroll quite so much. There we go. Okay. So we did these, we went through 3 times. They're good to memorize. We'll go through first time. Ready? Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Shen Ru Lai, Namo Miao Shan Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai. We're ready? Try it again? What do you think? Here we go. Ready? Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Shen Ru Lai, Namo Shan Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai. Third time, here we go. Namo Do Bao Ru Lai, Namo Bao Shen Ru Lai, Namo Shan Shen Ru Lai, Namo Guang Bo Shen Ru Lai, Namo Li Bu Wei Ru Lai, Namo Gan Lu Wang Ru Lai, Namo Amito Ru Lai. I really like a Dharma that is aimed at animals, pets, ghosts, fish, children. Ah, how nice. So that's the 7 Tathagata's names, and we'll be doing those more. And if you come back, you can memorize them and recite for your kids and for your pets. Okay, fruit out in the hallway as you leave. Help yourself. It's been offered to the Buddha. We've accepted it, and we want to be sure that it doesn't go to waste. That people actually get a chance to eat it. It's yummy fruit. It comes through the monastery, so it's got a special whammy on it, of course. So, right, and we will not be having a meal on New Year's this year for various reasons. But if you'd like to come and we have one more lecture the night before New Year's. So if people want to come to the monastery and offer incense, you're welcome to do that. We will be here to say hello, and but don't plan to stay because probably COVID is still not a joke, and I appreciate that some of you are comfortable without masks. Other of you prefer a mask. We're good. We have our CO2 monitor, and it does reflect the fact that there are 20-some bodies here in the hall, but I think we should be good with for COVID protection here. So, alrighty. So if you want to find the link, that Zoom link to my lecture tomorrow night, go to berkeleymonastery.org. That's our website. I'll show you how that works. Here it is right there, berkeleymonastery.org. Here's the link. You can find the Zoom link. There will be a Vietnamese translation. I will do the Chinese translation myself. And tomorrow night, Professor Ray Ye is going to be giving the last half hour. Ye Jiao Shou is going to lecture from 8:30 to 9. He's distinguished professor. Bhikshuni Heng Yin-shi's dad, people know Ray Ye, Professor Ye. He's not only a learned academic, but he's got tremendous experience in progressive agendas of all kinds, of moving humanity a step forward. One of his specialties is ideas that cross borders, 跨越这个文化、国家、时间边际. So he is quite a progressive thinker, and he'll be sharing some ideas. So hope you'll enjoy tomorrow night's lecture. We try to make it not boring, so people will enjoy the experience of listening to the Avatamsaka Sutra. Here's our power tool for chasing COVID and all kinds of diseases and discomfort. Okay? I have to say, from where I'm sitting, when you all sing this, it sounds really good. Make a wish where you want your merit to go. If I were a COVID bug, I would be scared. Crossed over, not scared, crossed over. Oh, we forgot one. Here we go. Good karma story, good karma music. This is a Christmas card story. My kids created Christmas cards and gave gifts to the mail carriers from London, who throughout this whole pandemic have been serving the community, delivering packages and parcels while we stay safe at home. The kids were excited to give the gifts and cards. The recipients were touched by the gesture and said what made them really happy was the personalized cards from the kids. We then decided to make more Christmas cards with good well wishes and sent them to a care home, hoping it will cheer up some of the residents there, especially at a hard time where they can't see their families. I hope this will be a yearly thing we do during Christmas, where the kids change their focus from what presents they want to what they give to others. Send music to them, right? That's a good deed for music. Amen. All right, it's Bodhi Svaha. Okay, right from where you're sitting, you can make 3 half bows. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. everybody. See you all next week. That'll do it for us for today. Namo Tafang Guang Go Wayen Jing Wayen Hai Hui Po Sanam. Everybody is invited to come smell, but you can't grasp it.